Hello everybody, welcome back to another One Piece Burning Blood video. My name is Silvokiji and this is TheZoneGamingGo. So today's video for tips for different teams is going to be a little bit differently because defensive teams are very hard to pinpoint. So I could say like a couple of teams like Dome, maybe Rob will play defensive oriented character team concepts, but I don't really know if I can pinpoint definitely. And based on my knowledge of how I haven't seen them play as those teams in a minute. So what I'm going to do is just tell you some team compositions that I come up with and some support that I come up with. I'll give you a team comp already that I already have set up for you. So you want to test it out, look at it, have fun with it, and do whatever. But first part, I want to tell you what defensive teams' primary goals are. Defensive teams are the opposite of rushdown teams. Rushdown wants to kind of get close to you, deal as much damage as possible, and just be done with you. Defensive teams wants to defend as much as possible and kind of like take a step back. Now they still want to fight, they still want to fight like most teams do, but they want to take a more defensive approach. Like, is this riskier for me to take or not? And they're like, think about that and do that scenario. So generally when you see defensive teams, you're going to have at least one of these things: defense and healing. So the team I actually came up with, and I actually used this team about 4 months ago, it is basically healing and defense, kind of showing both of those properties in defensive team. So we have Chopper here. He does have a healing move. His unique button allows him to heal a decent amount of HP from his opponents. From his allies. And then you have Bartho here that's able to actually buff himself and also heal himself if he's met with different variety of different characters. And then Marco, on the other hand, has the a regular healing ability with R1, allowing him to heal his green health. Now, individually, these characters actually, in some way have healing properties. Together, if you use Marco as kind of like the lead, technically secondary lead, you can let him come out, take damage if he has to, heal at green health, and then you can switch him out and use Chopper to heal the rest. Now, Bartho has longevity because of his own healing ability, and it's also a power to actually give Burning Gauge. And when he's able to give that Burning Gauge, you give Marco more scare tactics because of how this character acts in general. The only downside of this team, or downside in general for characters that have healing, is that every character in this game that can heal, their damage is not the best. Okay, so you could go with attack buffs and stuff like that for this team, or if you're planning to play a defensive team, you might want to go with a +1. But for a defensive team, you probably don't want to go for anything higher than +1 because you want your resources. Now, support choices can be varied depending on how you're actually playing as a player and how you want to do it against your opponent. So you got Beepo. Protection for Beepo is generally for teams that don't really have buffs early on. So that way you still don't have that defensive buff early. Beepo support is really good to use. You can use Beepo or Goldie Roger if you want to opt for not picking LeBron. But when using Beepo, it gets you out of those really big 100% combos. Because what you want to do, you want to be a defensive team that can basically tank a 100% combo. That's really kind of where it all boils down to. Sorry. So you could argue that T-Bass does play a defensive layout because he does have he does have Sento to kind of tank that damage, and some teams will run Sento and Beepo, and some teams will just run Sento and not Beepo. But that's just like I said, it's up to you. So LeBron here giving +2 defense every time you actually lose a character. That means by the end of the day, once you have one last carry, you have +4. This is an excellent counter for chargeback teams that rely on that Kiro support. They give him +4 in the end. This is like a straight counter to it because it makes the damage neutral. So charge teams usually rely on support that give them those +2s and stuff, and LeBron will really help you, especially if you're losing, because if you're losing, he basically prevents you from losing too much, which is actually pretty good. And if you're running +4 defense, rent Sento and getting that HP, you're gonna have a very, very, very defensive character, especially when your defensive character last is Marco. You're gonna be healing the damage, you're gonna be tanking the damage, and you have way more HP than what you had before. So what's scarier? So in this case, you can actually run for different defensive options. So you can do, I believe Vista support works well for if you want to do those last digits. Someone is going to do a ultimate combo on you. Another option to use is Rebecca if you're playing with a flash guarding Worth defensive in a way. And then you can do Hina support, and that'll help you against basic attacks, so that way you can counter attack really easily. So there's different options you can use for defense support. Now the healing variation, you can do Dr. K to activate to heal the control character, Kaya to activate to heal your partners. They work excellent with characters that already have healing, or even with characters that don't have healing. That way you can kind of use them for those purpose. And then you got on the other end, I didn't mention him at first, but Trouble gives you +4 or plus, I don't know if it's +4 or +3 for defense, and Cammy does an excellent job protecting you from those really big damage combos with Logia characters you just busted. So his Marco, get caught in a combo, activate your Logia, bust it on purpose to get that increase. You got +4, you got +3, you got +7 now. So it works excellent. So when you're dealing with these type of characters and support, it literally boils down to what defensive options you actually want to portray. Now, I'm not saying that you can't go for attack options at all whatsoever, but you know, you gotta give and take somewhere. If you want a character, if you want to do something more offensive, then you probably want to switch out a character that is known for being defensive. Now, different other characters that can be used in defensive playstyle with healing is Ivonne is a really good example because he boosts your characters up. So if you are playing with a team or team concept that's generally not known for big damage, because of his ability, he's able to give +3 to that character and also heal them. And also heal himself as well, so he can get good recurring heals and stuff like that to really help you out. You can be swapped out for characters like Chopper or Bartho if you want more of a fast healing, but it does get limited after a while because of what it does. If you want to know more Ivonne does, look at his character guide. So, and not only that, defensive characters doesn't necessarily have to be healing. Those characters can also be people that are also good at countermeasures. Like Jinbei also helps because of shark skin. Koala can be a defensive oriented because of her shark skin. And you have other counters like Kuma can also be very defensively because of his ability to handle aerials and his also ability to easily hit people with squish and also lag them to death. I say lag them to death, but it's not really lagging. It's more like chipping to death. It's just another trace. So those are some various options that can be utilized if you plan on being more defensive or making a more defensive team. Now, I will tell you that you will probably infuriate your opponent because you'll be so defensive, and the whole time you'll be healing and getting on their nerves, that's an opportunity for you to actually attack back. Now, if you want damage in your defensive team, if you're trying to play the more damage approach, there is when a Nell actually comes in, or Inaru comes in option, because he plays very, very good defensively because he's able to minefield the battle, allowing you to actually get things done and also cause big damage. Now, he's generally not viewed as a big damage dealer, but when he actually loads up all of his drums, he can deal devastating damage. Now, against a Conqueror's Hockey character, you might want to switch him out during battle, because don't do that stuff, because you're going to lose with him, because everything he does can be Conqueror's Hockey. Okay, other than that, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this defensive level video. It was more of an educational video than showcasing the character teams. Now, like I said, I could have actually showcased his T-Bass team. I don't believe I have his team on here no more, so I can't really show you exactly what it looks like. But he does play a little bit defensively, and I know it includes Jinbei, Koala, and Smoker and stuff like that. So you want to utilize that. You can utilize those characters. I believe Sento is actually part of it, as well as Kobe for the extra damage output. In the meantime, guys, enjoy the rest of your day and continue playing One Piece Burning Blood.